He lies sprawled in a field of soft grass, staring blankly at the sky, as if his mind has drifted far away from his body. A gentle breeze sweeps across the meadow, making the leaves around him whisper softly. After a long moment, he finally pushes himself up with a sleepy yawn, just in time to notice tiny, glowing particles floating past him like fireflies. Confused, he blinks several times. The forest around him is glowing faintly and completely unfamiliar. He has no idea where he is, or how he got there. Trying to avoid explaining his situation even to himself, he forces his thoughts toward escape, toward finding anything familiar. But before he can take a step, strange, otherworldly creatures emerge between the trees. The realization hits him like ice water. He's been transported to another world. Before he can process it, a massive bear crashes into his path, its enormous frame blocking out the light. His mind spirals in panic. Run? Fight? Pretend to be dead? None of those seem promising. The beast charges with a thunderous roar. Just when he's sure it's over, the bear is suddenly swallowed whole, consumed by a gigantic, glistening slime that drops from above like a living wave. He can only watch, stunned and horrified, as the slime melts the bear down to nothing within seconds. Choking on fear, he stumbles back as the slime inches toward him, pulsing threateningly. Then, without warning, the slime shoots forward at terrifying speed, slamming into the stone wall beside him hard enough to tremble the ground. It reforms instantly, oozing back into shape. Shaken but alive, he forces himself upright. The slime settles, the bear already gone without a trace. Determined to understand what kind of monster he's dealing with, he leaves the glowing grove and wanders into a normal-looking forest, hoping his nightmare is over. It isn't. Mistaking a group of brutish figures for villagers, he approaches with relief, only to realize too late that they're cannibals. Armed with nothing more than a makeshift sword, he barely claws his way out of the chaos. Exhausted, traumatized, and filthy, he eventually finds a real road. Overwhelmed with relief, he carved a message of gratitude into a nearby tree before moving on. At last, in the distance, he sees a walled city, towers rising proudly above the horizon. Hope floods through him. All he wants is to see normal people, to feel safe. But the moment he gets close, armored guards seize him and hurl him aside without letting him speak. Before he knows it, he's thrown into a cell. Panic rises as he tries yelling, explaining, begging, yet none of them understand a word he says. He wanted safety, but he ended up behind bars instead. Lying on the cold stone floor, he thinks about how miserably his day has gone, nearly mauled by a bear, almost dissolved by a slime, chased by cannibals, and now arrested for no reason. Just as he thinks it can't get worse, a sharp pain surges through his body. A tall armored woman suddenly appears outside his cell, radiating authority like a knight carved from steel. He scrambles upright, stunned, blurting out the only thing he can think of. Who are you? He assumes she hit him with her sword and demands an explanation. She smiles gently, giving him hope, and then promptly slams him into the floor without a hint of hesitation. Dragged away by the intimidating woman, he panics, calling her a monstrous gorilla as he struggles uselessly against the ropes binding him. He has no idea where she's taking him or what fate awaits him. Hours later, he wakes inside a grand cathedral bathed in sunlight. Still dizzy, he sits up, then freezes. He can suddenly understand the words being spoken around him. Shocked, he blurts out in disbelief, and the armored woman glares at him again. A calm, gentle nun steps forward and explains that they cast a harmless possession spell, just enough to let him comprehend their language. He awkwardly compares it to a translator jelly from a cartoon and mutters a thanks, relieved he can finally understand someone. Still overwhelmed by everything that's happened, he admits he barely understands the situation himself. He even takes a light jab at the knight for her brutal handling earlier. She calmly tells him there's no reason to lie. She can sense falsehoods instantly. Impressed, he jokes that such an ability would have saved him from countless disasters today. Wanting to be honest, he finally opens up completely, explaining that he isn't from this world at all. He recounts every bizarre moment of his journey, from waking in a glowing forest to surviving monsters by pure luck. By the time he finishes, both the nun and the knight stare at him in stunned silence. They're speechless when they hear he wandered out from the infamous Black Demon Lord's Killing Mountain, a place so deadly that even dragons avoid it. The knight almost shouts in disbelief, demanding to know how he's still alive. Meanwhile, he's simply confused why everything here has such dramatic names. He also learns the fruit he ate on the mountain is extremely dangerous, something that drives people to charge directly toward monster dens. He unknowingly ate several of them. The nun is baffled he didn't lose control entirely, but makes sense. His mana is unbelievably low. While they laugh about how absurdly lucky he is, he secretly hopes he might still have some hidden cheat ability. A classic Ice Guy twist, maybe? Nope. The nun checks again and almost collapses. His mana is so low she nearly screams. Not only did he not gain OP powers, he's practically the weakest being in the kingdom. He's frustrated at first, but then a surprising realization hits him. If he had any more presence, the slime might have actually noticed him and ended him instantly. Being a nobody may have saved his life. The knight casually mentions she used his only weapon, his cherished wooden stick, as firewood. Before he can protest, they warn him how lucky he was to avoid the infamous bandit gang in the forest. When he reveals he actually met them on the deadly mountain, her entire expression shifts. The second he mentions seeing the bandits, the knight snaps, grabbing him with both hands and yelling for their exact location. Panic surges through him as she shakes him so hard he fears for his life. The nun and attendants rush to hold her back, saving him from being rattled into oblivion. Still trembling, he mutters monstrous gorilla under his breath, convinced he barely survived her wrath. With his guidance, the knight begins preparing immediately. She declares she'll form a subjugation squad. He reluctantly agrees to lead the way, begging her not to break his bones this time. The knight introduces herself formally as Ilas Ratzel, a sworn knight of the Thai kingdom, tasked with eliminating the mountain bandits. With their mission aligned, they set out toward the cave he found earlier. Inside a nearby cave, two bandits relax by a fire. One wanders off to relieve himself, while the other smokes and mutters vile desires, completely unaware of the storm heading their way. One of them suddenly senses movement using detection magic and shouts a warning. Ilas remains calm. The narrow entrance means the bandits are trapped. Easy. The boy is shocked the bandits can use magic at all, and even more shocked by how casual she is about it. He still vividly remembers how she carried him here like a sack of potatoes. The knights launch their assault. They explode into action with terrifying speed, storming the cave like a battalion of monsters. The boy watches in awe and fear. These knights are on a completely different level. Ilas signals him to stay close. He nods nervously, still trying to process how unbelievably strong she is. With the cave entrance in sight, Ilas charges forward, her armor gleaming as she leads the attack without hesitation. Dust and debris swirl behind her. Ignoring the darkness, she slices through a stone wall with enough force to make the ground shake, blood spraying from her first strike. She commands her squad sharply. Spare the ones who surrender. Show no mercy to those who flee. Instinctively, the boy salutes, too stunned to question anything. The knights tear through the hideout, overwhelming the bandits. Screams echo as their formation collapses instantly. One injured bandit crawls toward his leader, begging for help, but it's clear they never stood a chance. A massive bandit swings a giant chained weapon at Ilas. She flicks it aside effortlessly and retaliates with overwhelming power. Calmly, she mocks him. What's wrong? Your size is just for decoration. He roars and attacks, only for her to counter instantly, pinning him to the wall with raw strength. Coldly, she announces judgment for all his crimes. With one clean swing, she cuts straight through his weapon and his body. Blood splatters across the stone walls as he is thrown backward like a broken doll. The entire cavern falls silent. Her knights stare in shock. The boy can only gape, soul half detached from his body. Ilas then orders her knights to sweep the area with detection magic to locate any hidden survivors. While they scatter, the boy stands frozen, mentally traumatized. A cheerful knight tries to reassure him, but he is beyond saving at this point. Gathering a bit of courage, he teases Ilas about not using her sword. She unexpectedly blushes and gives a stiff, cold excuse, explaining she didn't want it stained with the enemy's blood. The boy teases her, saying he thought it was just stuck. Embarrassed, she raises her sword at him, and he quickly apologizes. Their mission ends successfully. 7 out of 30 bandits are captured, the rest eliminated. As they march back, Ilas carries the boy over her shoulder like luggage. Exhausted, he sighs, realizing he's accidentally gotten used to being hauled around like this. He reflects on everything, why he was brought here, what purpose he serves. He admits he has no special power, no heroic destiny, and probably wasn't summoned for anything important. He just wanted a peaceful, quiet life. Meanwhile, in the forest, the remaining bandits report to their leader Dakala, about the defeat of one of their groups. Dakala laughs confidently, believing his men fear him more than any knight. His arrogance blinds him to the danger closing in. Back at Tai Kingdom's castle, a meeting is held to discuss the bandit operation. King Mario Ta praises Ilas for her successful mission. She explains that despite the captures, no useful information has been extracted yet. A nobleman interrupts, belittling her abilities and claiming she's unfit for interrogations because she's a woman. He boasts arrogantly about his own squad's 300 knights compared to her small elite unit. Ilas glares, clearly annoyed. The king remains silent, watching the tension rise. Later, the boy finally eats his first proper meal in this new world. To his surprise, the leftovers taste great. The older man who served him chuckles at his reaction and shows him where to rest. The boy meets the kind old man, Karagesta Doidevoken. Unable to remember the long name, he looks lost. Laughing, the old man tells him to call him Grandpa Carrera. Ilas soon enters, and Grandpa Carrera casually mentions bringing the boy along. She asks him for help coming up with ideas to deal with the captured bandits, since none of them are willing to talk. He jokes that with her insane strength, catching them should have been easy, calling her a gorilla again. She sulks slightly, but explains the truth. The bandits are extremely coordinated and use clever magical methods to escape. She reveals the secret. The bandits use detection magic like a life radar, allowing them to spot knights before they get close. But whenever they flee, they drop magic sealing stones that block all magic nearby. She places a small orb on the table. It's a magic sealing stone. The boy is stunned, calling it a fantasy killer item. She explains the power depends on size. Small ones are cheap enough for kids to buy, but massive ones can disable magic across entire battlefields. When he asks why they won't use hypnosis magic to interrogate the prisoners, Ilas reveals the worst part. The prisoners implanted small sealing stones into their own heads, blocking all mental magic completely. A chilling silence fills the room. The mystery behind the bandits is only growing darker. The boy realizes something crucial. Magic isn't the convenient solution he imagined. In this world, even powerful spells have harsh limits. Ilas explains that removing the sealing stones from the captives' heads by force would likely kill them. The boy is stunned. The bandits prepared for interrogation to the point of self-mutilation. With a confident smile, he suddenly volunteers to take over the interrogation. Inside the prison chamber, the captured bandit snarls at him, mocking his weak appearance and demanding to know who he thinks he is. But the boy remains calm. He says interrogation doesn't require brute strength, and besides, he dislikes violence. Observing the man's wounds, he quickly realizes the prisoner has already been tortured, yet refuses to break. That can only mean one thing. The bandits fear something far worse than death. When the prisoner taunts him, saying he should just kill him because he'll never talk, the boy calmly replies that death is already guaranteed. So why keep secrets? He suggests that talking might at least ease his situation, though deep down, the boy knows fear like this can only come from a much bigger threat. The boy leans in and asks, "Then tell me this. Why won't you talk? Not names, not plans, just why?" The bandit grows frustrated, demanding to know what difference it makes. The boy smirks, saying it would simply satisfy his curiosity. When the prisoner still refuses, the boy shrugs and says he'll leave the rest to the knights. That's when the bandit finally breaks. Shaking, he admits death doesn't scare him at all. What truly terrifies the bandits is a mysterious individual, a person capable of inflicting endless fear, a presence that would haunt them no matter where they ran. As he begs for execution, the boy realizes this enemy is something far darker than simple criminals. The boy and Ilas visit Maya, a scholar, to ask about mysterious magic. After some confusion, Maya explains that a spell for summoning the souls of the dead does exist, but it is absolutely forbidden. She warns him not to speak casually about such magic. In many nations, showing interest in resurrection spells is enough to warrant execution. Maya reveals the chilling truth. Everyone ever resurrected by that forbidden magic eventually transformed into a demon lord, humanity's greatest enemy. The boy is stunned. Demon lords exist here, and resurrection magic always births one. But something doesn't add up. The bandit's terror feels tied to something else. Maya then mentions another taboo, the death spirit spell. Unlike resurrection magic, this spell doesn't revive the dead. Instead, it drags their souls back into the world, forcing them into decay or servitude. She calls it the vilest magic known to mankind. The boy wonders whether those souls remain conscious in such an agonizing state. Maya smiles softly. It's a heavy question even wise scholars struggle to answer. Carrying a stack of books, The boy clarifies that he's not interested in learning the spell itself. He wants to understand the fear surrounding it. Maya's expression darkens as she recalls her past. She once fought an enemy who used the death spirit spell. Her squad had to destroy the abominable creatures it created. Most vanished with agonized screams, but one, right before disappearing, whispered a single word. "Thank you." The boy bows gratefully as they leave. Once he's gone, Maya quietly asks Ilas to watch him closely. "He isn't a bad kid," she says, "but he seems disturbingly familiar with malice, with horrors that normal people shouldn't understand." The interrogator appears. The boy enters a cell packed with prisoners whispering in panic. The narration confirms what Maya sensed. He is a dangerous boy who could easily drift down the wrong path. With a friendly smile, he greets them as their new interrogator. But his calmness only terrifies them more. Screams erupt. Some prisoners beg to be killed immediately. The boy's eyes sharpen. He asks if they're truly that afraid of becoming victims of the death spirit spell. The reaction is instant. Faces pale, bodies tremble, fear crashing over them like a wave. As they stammer and deny everything, he smirks. Their terror alone exposes the truth. He then lays out his offer with chilling clarity. He can't set them free. He can't save them, but he can postpone their execution. If they confess, they'll live until the death spirit spell user is captured. A small window of life in exchange for information. The prisoners fall silent, caught between the cruelty of their mysterious master and the faint hope the boy offers. And for the first time, the bandits begin to talk. The boy steps forward, his expression calm but unnervingly cold. With a faint smile that chills the room, he adds, "At least this way, you can die as humans." The prisoners freeze. That single sentence drains the last bit of color from their faces. He slowly approaches, eyes sharp and predatory. "Now, then, gentlemen," his tone drops to a dangerous whisper. "Shall we begin negotiations?" The air tightens. The bandits tremble. The real interrogation has just begun. He outlines his plan with unsettling composure as he paces before their cells. If they confess, they will still be imprisoned, but fed, kept alive, and spared until the death spirit spell user is captured. Their betrayal may anger the mastermind, but they won't die immediately. Their execution will simply be delayed. He assures them there will be no further torture. They'll have time to reflect on their lives. A rare mercy in this place. Desperate and confused, one prisoner argues that they'll be executed anyway. Another snarls that the boy can't be trusted. The boy smirks. "So you think your current situation isn't dangerous?" His eyes sweep across the room, reading their fear like an open book. He circles the prisoners, voice low and calm. He asks whether they truly believe the knights found their hideout by pure chance. Then he drops the seed of terror. What if next time, the knights find a mastermind by accident? A horrified silence overtakes the room. Because if that happens, the mastermind will assume one of them talked. Fear spreads like wildfire. The boy's smile widens, cold, knowing, merciless. "So tell me, who will he suspect first?" No one answers. No one can. With a voice that cuts like ice, he continues. "Choose. Betray the one you fear, or die before your friends." His words twist their fear into paranoia. Friendship becomes suspicion. Silence becomes suffocation. He steps back, calm as ever. With a faint smirk, he says, "Take the day to think. Those with courage, come forward tomorrow." The boy leaves the room heavy with fear. The prisoners stare in stunned silence, haunted by every word. After the interrogation, outside, he notices Ilas and Grandpa Kara staring at him. The old man chuckles nervously, saying the boy has the heart of a crooked merchant. The boy waves it off. "I don't want that kind of life." When asked if his plan will actually make the prisoners talk, he admits honestly, probably not. Then he turns to Grandpa Kara, lowering his voice, and whispers something. The old man and Ilas stiffen instantly, faces filled with shock. "Why, you scoundrel," the old man blurts. The boy frantically waves his hands. No, it's nothing shady. It's for the people." After some pleading, Grandpa Kara reluctantly agrees, though his expression is full of dread. Whatever the boy requested, it isn't something normal. The fear deepens. Back in the prison, the first bandit curses loudly. The boy intentionally separated them into individual cells. They can't talk. They can't confirm anything. They can only fear each other. From the next room, Ilas shouts at them to look carefully. A horrific sight appears, twisted undead beings begging to die. The bandits scream, terror ripping through their minds. One collapses to the ground, trembling violently. The boy's illusion, or whatever trick he prepared, hits them harder than any torture. Guards outside whisper among themselves, noting that not a single prisoner has confessed yet. Their silence is turning to panic. Then Grandpa Kara calmly explains. Only 3 prisoners will have execution delays. The rest, immediate execution. The prisoners freeze. One bandit trembles as the truth sinks in. And then the guard mentions. This was the boy's idea. Realization slams into the man like a blow. He starts sweating, shaking. The deal wasn't for all of them. Only a few will live long enough for the mastermind to be caught. Everyone else disposable. The man snaps. Screaming, he slams his fists against the bars, eyes wild with terror. Bring him. I'll talk. Get that boy here right now. He collapses to his knees, pounding on the floor as he yells. I'll confess. I'll tell you everything. The first domino falls, and the mastermind's secrets are about to spill. Panic surges through the prisoner the moment he hears the rule. Only 3 of them will be spared. His voice cracks, his breathing turns uneven, and sweat rolls down his forehead. With trembling hands, he grabs the papers and begins writing at a frantic pace. Every stroke of the pen is desperate, messy, and rushed. He mutters curses under his breath, trying to squeeze out every memory, every scrap of information, anything that might save his life. The tiny cell fills with the furious scratching of his pen until, overwhelmed, he slams his fist on the desk and lets out a roar of frustration. The guard outside watches expressionlessly, unmoved by the prisoner's breakdown. A short while later, Ilya brings a thick bundle of confession papers, explaining that out of 7 prisoners, 5 ended up spilling everything. The boy quietly eats while reading through the stack, casually commenting that they should dig even more information out of them. Ilya freezes mid-sentence, staring at him with an unsettled expression. When he calls her name awkwardly, she snaps. She glares at him and demands to know what kind of past life he lived. Yes, she's grateful for the results, but she can't ignore how his tactics violate the ideals of chivalry she believes in. To her, he's using fear and weakness to his advantage, something she finds frightening. He meets her eyes calmly and admits, without hesitation, that she's right. Ilya, still processing his unervingly honest reaction, asks what he could have possibly been in his old world. To her, only criminals or master manipulators would think this way. He only offers a quiet smile and says he was just an ordinary guy who wanted a peaceful life. She doesn't buy it. So he explains, to live peacefully in his previous world, you needed to understand people, good people, bad people, and everything in between. The best way to avoid trouble was to know how to deal with every type of person appropriately. Changing your behavior based on who you're facing was normal. Ilya listens, confused yet drawn in by the strange logic. When she asks which version of him is real, the gentle one she knows, or the cold one who deals with enemies, he responds calmly, both. He says Ilya is the type of person who acts the same no matter who is watching, steadfast, consistent, genuine. He, on the other hand, is someone who adapts himself to the person standing before him. Startled, Ilya asks if that means he becomes evil when confronting evil. He shakes his head lightly and replies, not evil, just someone who can understand it. Ilya goes quiet for a long moment, finally whispering that she understands. To her, his mind is like a distorted mirror, strange, twisted, yet undeniably reflecting reality. He looks down, silently acknowledging her words. Then, with a soft exhale, Ilya admits that the peaceful life he describes sounds incredibly difficult. Later, the group examines the reports spread across the table. Ilya explains that the bandits are part of a massive organization known as the Bandit Alliance. At its center is a one-armed man, the same person who unleashed the Death Spirit spell. A detailed sketch lies on the table. Ilya reveals his name, Dakala. She explains that Dakala used to serve in an elite assassination unit in another kingdom, but after violating a forbidden law, he became a fugitive. From there, he committed brutal crimes as a bandit before drifting into their kingdom. The boy studies the sketch and deduces that Dakala is simply applying his assassin training to bandit work, making him dangerous, but not unpredictable. Ilya shifts uneasily at how cold and calculating he sounds. The other woman smirks and comments that, for a moment there, he looked completely villainous. The kingdom streets burst with noise and warmth, vendors calling out their prices, children laughing, locals chatting with bright faces. The boy looks around in awe, taking in the lively scenery. It's the first time he's actually seen this place properly. The last time he came here, he'd been dragged and tied up inside a sack. Ilya walks beside him proudly, explaining that both the current king and the previous ruler led the nation with kindness. Because of that, the people love them deeply. Her expression softens with admiration as she says there's no greater honor than serving this kingdom as one of its knights. As they continue planning, Ilia insists she'll gather every knight under Lord Ragdo for the upcoming raid. But the boy points out that the bandit alliance is far too large and organized to capture fully with a single group. Ilia explains that Ragdo commands 30 knights, and she is one of them. When the boy casually suggests asking other knight squads for help, Ilia hesitates. It's possible, but she looks unsure. Realizing she'd let pride cloud her judgment, she sighs and decides to call for an assembly of all knight units. When the boy asks if the meeting will be held inside the castle barracks, she nods, then pauses when he smirks mischievously. He reminds her that outsiders like him have no easy way into the castle, and if he isn't there, pulling off his plan will be impossible. Later that night, under silver moonlight, knights from all divisions gather inside the castle's grand hall. Ilia stands at the front, expressing gratitude for their attendance at such a late hour. Her voice becomes firm as she announces the meeting's purpose: the bandit attacks and the kingdom's current crisis. One knight claps loudly and takes control of the room. He suggests they begin by choosing a supreme commander and asks each leader to report how many knights they can offer. Each squad announces their numbers. Then he smirks and boasts that his own unit, the Leonoir squad, has 300 knights, towering over the others. With overwhelming arrogance, he declares himself the obvious choice for supreme commander, expecting no opposition. Quietly, the boy observes everything from aback. He remembers his late grandfather mentioning a pompous knight named Leonoir, and watching this scene proves every rumor true. An elderly knight beside him whispers that Ilia, despite being a woman, is one of the most respected knights in the entire kingdom, which only fuels jealousy from men like Leonoir. As Leonoir pushes for control, the other knights agree instantly, showing their bias. The boy scoffs under his breath and mutters that he'll remember the man who just clicked his tongue so arrogantly. The old knight snaps at the others, reminding them that everything they've achieved is thanks to Ilia's hard work. The accusation annoys Leonoir, who clicks his tongue again. The old man calls out to the boy, urging him to say something too. Leonoir turns sharply and demands to know who the boy even is. Someone nearby whispers his name, Lord Dmitry Kovkin, and Leonoir snorts, calling him an outsider with no right to speak. The old man defends him, revealing that it was the boy who provided all the vital intel for the mission. The boy speaks calmly, saying it's logical for the largest squad to lead. But then he adds, with a sly little twist in his tone, if Leonoir is going to lead, it would be terrible if he didn't understand the operation properly. He opens a map and invites Leonoir to take a closer look. The boy spreads out a detailed map showing the bandits' base, patrol routes, and supply lines. He explains everything clearly and carefully, offering a larger map if needed. He urges them to finalize each squad's role immediately. Trying to maintain his pride, Leonoir chooses to take charge of the enemy's main base. With a polite smile masking his true intentions, the boy asks where Lady Ratzel's squad, Ragdo's unit, should be assigned, and which squads are willing to cooperate with her. Then he assigns her division to standby logistical support along the trade route. If any squad suffers heavy casualties, her unit will fill the gaps. Ilia freezes, stunned and hurt by the unexpected placement. The other squads accept the distribution easily, thanking the boy for organizing everything, completely unaware of the hidden strategy behind his pleasant smile. Feeling betrayed, Ilia shouts at him and storms out. Even so, she remains determined to do her duty as a knight. The boy chases after her, trying to explain, but she refuses to slow down. He pants heavily, complaining that she's walking too fast, or maybe she's just annoyed she isn't the one carrying him this time. Frustrated, he groans that being from another world is useless if he doesn't even get special physical abilities. Ilia tries to stay composed as Grandpa Carrera apologizes for not helping her more earlier. They continue through the forest, with the old man assuring her that everything is going exactly according to the boy's plan. Just as Ilia begins to mention the next step, the boy collapses mid-stride, completely out of stamina. Ilia sighs. He really is hopeless physically. A knight charges forward with his shield raised high, deflecting a strike with flawless form. The bandits, shocked by the sudden assault, panic as one screams for them to flee and warn their leader. Chaos erupts. They can't comprehend how the knights found them. The commander raises his sword, shouting for his men to crush the bandits without mercy. Under the shining moonlight, the knights surge forward like a tidal wave. From a distance, Leonoir watches the battlefield and smirks. The boy's strategy is working brilliantly. Lena comments on how terrifyingly effective the boys' manipulation at the assembly had been and how smoothly everything is unfolding. Leonor scoffs about Ilya being stuck in a support role and laughs, claiming that all glory will belong to his house. But right as he boasts, something on the battlefield catches his eye. His laughter dies mid-breath. The night turns suffocatingly still as skeletal hands claw out of the soil. Under the pale moonlight, decayed bodies rise, jerking, twisting, dragging themselves toward the battlefield. A wave of terror floods the dark-haired man's eyes as he recognizes the nightmare unfolding before him. The forbidden death spirit sorcery has been unleashed. Bandits sprint blindly through the forest, screaming as they realize their entire unit has been wiped out and they are now trapped, surrounded with no escape. From behind the trees, a tall man with black hair steps forward, his expression curled with contempt. He watches their panic with amusement and calls them pathetic fools unable to grasp the doom tightening around them. He lifts his hand, dark energy spiraling around his fingers, and smirks. Yes, the situation is dire, but he's prepared, and he's ready to counter whatever comes next. Screams rip across the battlefield as steel clashes and undead corpses stagger toward the living. Their flesh drips, their limbs twitch, their empty eyes glowing faintly as they lunge at the nearest knight. A knight slashes one down, his hands trembling in disbelief. He stares at the writhing corpse, horrified. Magic shouldn't work here, not with sealing stones covering the entire battlefield. Yet the undead keep advancing, groaning, crawling, dragging broken limbs forward. The knight commander bellows orders through the chaos, calling the undead abominations. He warns the knights not to fall. Anyone who dies will simply rise as a new enemy. Raising his blade, he commands all mages to use purifying magic to cleanse the advancing horde. Across the field, the necromancer watches with a cold smirk, raising more corpses with each gesture. The commander fights desperately, fully aware that if the undead push any further, his own troops could turn against him. Clenching his jaw, he glares as the necromancer laughs, mocking the knights from afar. The villain taunts his trembling subordinate, claiming that his enemies are far more useful to him in death than they ever were alive. The underling stammers, asking how magic is even possible under the suppression. With supreme arrogance, the necromancer explains, magic sealing stones don't erase magic. They disrupt spell structure. His death spirit spell doesn't rely on traditional casting. It forces wandering souls into abandoned bodies, creating undead that spread mana as they move. That's why the corpses keep multiplying. He reveals he had hidden dozens of undead inside a sealed barrier near the encampment, completely unaffected by the magic sealing stones. Once the knights approached, the barrier dissolved and released the monsters. He grins, declaring that as long as corpses exist, he can create an army. Now, freed from a need to share spoils with his discarded underlings, he mocks the deaths happening across the field. Behind him, his creations groan and shuffle in the moonlit dark. From atop a rocky ridge, a sudden voice cuts through the night, firm, sharp, unshaken. The necromancer's head snaps upward. Someone calls out that they take no pride in being thanked by someone as vile as him. The challenge rings through the battlefield. Under the full moon, Ilas Ratzel steps forward with unwavering resolve. Drawing her sword, she proudly declares her name and vows that the necromancer Dakala's reign of terror ends here and now. Dakala snarls, startled that anyone discovered his hidden refuge. When Ilas and her squad descend the cliff, a crooked grin stretches across his face. He taunts her, asking if she truly uncovered his escape path. Ilas meets his gaze without a hint of hesitation and calmly states she did. Dakala bursts out laughing, accusing her of lying, claiming a knight like her would never use comrades as bait. His mocking smile shifts as he hints that someone far more cunning was behind the discovery. His eyes drift toward the young man, standing quietly behind Ilas. He asks if the boy was the one who uncovered the escape route. The boy admits he isn't a fighter, calling himself the weakest person present, but his steady tone carries a chilling confidence. Dakala presses him again, demanding to know what method or magic he used to extract information from the bandits. His voice wavers between amusement and unease. With a calm stare that cuts deeper than any blade, the boy answers with a single word, understanding. Dakala's grin stiffens. The boy's insight runs far deeper than expected. He explains softly that he had already predicted Dakala would flee once the battle turned. Everything made sense. Dakala's rule through terror, his reliance on forbidden death magic, his habit of preparing multiple escape routes, and above all, the complete lack of corpses at their previous raid site. That absence confirmed everything. Realizing that Dala had been saving the corpses for something sinister, the boy speaks bluntly, exposing Dala's intention without hesitation. Dala laughs darkly, impressed by the boy's sharp insight, and asks mockingly, "Whose side are you even on?" The boy answers casually, calling himself a peace-loving citizen, which only amuses Dala further. Dala sneers, claiming someone like him could never understand a villain's mind. The boy quietly murmurs that villains are capable of anything, and Dala laughs at his calm, unnerved attitude. But then something changes. As Dala studies the boy's black hair and black eyes, his expression freezes. He realizes this kid doesn't resemble any clan in their world. Suspicion flashes in his gaze. The boy stiffens. With a sharp smirk, Dala says it outright. "You're not from this world, are you?" The boy is stunned into silence. Dala continues confidently, "You're from Earth." His certainty leaves the boy speechless. Seeing his reaction, Dala bursts into laughter. He hit the mark perfectly. When the boy manages to ask how he knows about Earth, Dala's face twists with rage. He explains that the same forbidden revive magic that destroyed his life and plunged the world into darkness came from Earth. The taboo spell of death and resurrection, the spell that birthed the death spirits, originated from the cursed parallel world. The boy and the knight, Ilas, stand frozen, shaken by the truth. The boy thinks quickly. Dala has no reason to lie, and even Ilas seems unaware of this. If Ilas kills Dala now, he'll lose the chance to learn more. Dala smirks, satisfied by their shock. He says his deadly death spirit spell was merely a fragment of Earth's forbidden knowledge, a small clue to guide the boy. Then suddenly, with a wild grin, Dala lunges forward and stabs the boy. The knight gasps. The boy staggers in disbelief as Dala whispers, "That's enough hints. Go find the truth yourself." Before Ilas can react, Dala throws two hidden knives. Ilas instantly blocks both with flawless speed, leaving the boy in awe. Ilas commands him to stay behind her. She cannot protect him if he moves. He nods, trusting her completely. Dala rallies his forces with a crazed shout. He orders them to cut down every enemy, threatening to turn any deserters into undead on the spot. His men, terrified and desperate, charge in a frenzy. Ilas takes position as Dala rushes at her with wild determination. Their blades clash violently. Sparks fly. Dala praises her strength mockingly, claiming even the Garnier kingdom lacks someone like her. Ilas refuses to entertain his taunts, calling him nothing more than a villain. Cornered but smiling wickedly, Dala admits she's strong enough to break his arms, but he still has his trump card. He lifts his dagger. It erupts with dark, corrupt energy. The ground trembles as black mist floods outward. Ilas immediately recognizes the aura and shouts for her allies to form a barrier. It's the death spirit spell. The boy stares in shock as the corrupted energy consumes the field. Dala laughs with triumph. He points to the undead surrounding them and reveals that they are not mindless corpses, but loyal servants, bound to his will and ready to obey any command. The battlefield freezes under the moonlight as reanimated corpses swarm forward, closing in on Ilas and her squad. A massive undead brute charges at her, swinging a huge weapon. Recognition flashes in Ilas' eyes. It's the same man she had slain in the cave. Dala smirks, confirming her suspicion, taunting that the man makes a perfect undead soldier, fueled by his grudge against her. He boasts that the death spirit spell now covers the entire area, and even if he dies, the undead will continue fighting. Confident that Ilas lacks holy weapons to counter it, Dala dares her to act. Ilas tightens her grip on her sword. She realizes the only way to turn the tide is by cutting through the corrupted mana itself. With a commanding shout, she orders all units to leap, knights and the boy soaring just as the corrupted ground erupts in dark energy. The boy panics midair, amazed by the sheer height they've been launched. Dala sneers, trying to prevent any counterattack. But Ilas charges, her blade gleaming, calm and fierce. This isn't magic. With a single swing, her sword releases a massive wave of energy, cutting through the corrupted mana. Everyone, even Dala, freezes in shock. One strike cleared the battlefield of the sinister force. Ilas presses forward, her blade glowing faintly, confronting Dala directly. He steadies himself, mocking her, but she warns him to use whatever tricks remain. She won't give him another chance. Smirking, Dala throws a smoke bomb, attempting to escape. The boy watches in disbelief, the notorious bandit boss resorting to such a cheap tactic. But before he can vanish, a spear pierces through him from the forest, stopping him in his tracks. Blood spills as Dala kneels, wounded but smirking, still mocking Ilas for her pride. Ilas stays calm, revealing their escape had been anticipated. A trap set perfectly between her, the boy, and Grandpa Carr. Dala laughs weakly, acknowledging how well he was outsmarted, even expressing twisted satisfaction at being tricked. Despite the tension easing, the boy coldly reminds him, someone who kills cannot be a friend. With his final breaths, Dala smiles faintly, giving Ilas and the boy a final gift, a hidden map marking his most secret base. Even wounded, he manages a faint grin, asking the boy for his name one last time. The boy hesitates, then quietly replies. Ilas delivers the final strike. Dala collapses, a faint smile lingering on his face, as if satisfied with how things end. The boy watches silently, realizing Dala had accepted his fate to the very end. Standing beside the fallen boss, Ilas asks the boy if he wants to question Dala further, reminding him of the hints he gave about Earth. The boy remains silent, thoughts heavy, unsure if Dala ever truly held the answers he sought. The battlefield finally quiets, and Ilas stands among the aftermath, her sword still in hand. She explains that she acted because she felt it was necessary, though a shadow of regret lingers in her eyes. The boy reassures her, saying she did nothing wrong. She admits that, while she didn't like it, his plan made sense. Turning away, Ilas hesitates, then quietly offers to explain her feelings, hoping it will help him understand why she struck Dakala. The boy awkwardly offers to listen, wanting to comprehend her reasoning. Her eyes widen as she whispers, "Forgive me." She confesses she acted out of fear and disgust, seeing something of Dakala in him, something dark that reminded her of the villain. Ilas explains that ever since hearing about Dakala from Maya, she felt the boy's presence growing more like his, and speaking with him only intensified the sense. Fearing he might slowly become consumed by darkness, she couldn't stop herself from acting. The boy admits he can't deny it. He felt a strange understanding with Dakala, even knowing the man was a killer. Ilas, conflicted, insists that acting out of disgust isn't justifiable, calling it unforgivable. The boy, calm and steady, tells her that her reaction was admirable. She couldn't stand to see someone lose themselves, and, to him, that proved her strength. Taking action and reflecting on it, he says, is already worthy of respect. Ilas pouts, accusing him of talking like she's a child. The boy teases back, joking that he's older anyway. Surprised, she insists she's 18, and he calmly replies, "I'm still older." Wide-eyed and flustered, she blurts out, "Huh? How old are you, Ilas' son?" Ilas, stunned, asks if he's part elf because of his youthful appearance. He laughs, denying it, explaining all his ancestors were human. She freezes, realizing she's been treating him like a kid this whole time, panicking and awkwardly apologizing. The boy laughs it off, teasing her not to suddenly act polite after everything, leaving Ilas flustered and insisting, "It's not what it looks like." With a calm but soft tone, the boy asks if what he did was good enough. Ilas, caught off guard, blushes deeply and quietly answers, "Yeah,